Hey, worthy writers, welcome to today's screencast where I'm just going to walk you through your new document called the Writing Bible. It is not religious, but it is in fact a preeminent piece of writing. So this opening page of your Writing Bible is simply your table of contents. And if you look carefully at it, you'll see that the Writing Bible is broken into three distinct parts. Your first part is just contents for any general essay, beginning with how to write a quality paragraph and then how to put together a quality essay, including the introduction, the body, the conclusion, how to create coherence, and then how to cite sources inside of a general essay. Part 2 includes contents for a literary analysis essay. So that discusses a little bit of the unique construction of a literary analysis essay, how to create a thesis statement, how to create a literary analysis essay outline, how to make sure you're doing claim evidence analysis in each of your body paragraphs for a literary analysis essay, and then at the top of the next column, how to punctuate, cite, and embed quotes. And the final part of the Writing Bible includes some generic tips for your overall writing. Things like how to analyze a writing prompt. It has some word walls like key verbs. It has some key verbs that'll help you to create a constructed response. Some information about how to create a works cited sheet. Some essay transitions. A powerful verb and an adjective word chart. And then some essay checklists, both generic and literary analysis. I also have a process for how to rewrite and resubmit papers, and then basically your rubrics for writing a general essay and writing a literary analysis essay, concluding with a conventions sheet so that if you get points taken off for grammatical mistakes or conventions mistakes, you can see where those points are coming from. So the first page of content in your Writing Bible is your general paragraph grid. You have already seen this, but it reminds you that when you're writing a body paragraph, you need to always include a claim, and then in order to prove that claim, you use point, evidence, and analysis. Once you're finished with this, which you usually have to do more than one of in each body paragraph, you conclude with a final sentence. Over on the right-hand side, there are just some reminders that your claim is called, in generic terms, a topic sentence, and it has to do some things. And then just over the course of your paper, you need to develop your ideas. That's where you add your evidence and analysis. And over the course of the writing, you have to be coherent. Every sentence has to relate back to the claim you're making, and every sentence has to relate to the sentences before and after it. And often you'll use transitional words and phrases to create that coherence. And you end with a final sentence. This is true of any body paragraph you're going to write. There's also a literary analysis paragraph that follows that general paragraph structure. It's, for all intents and purposes, the exact same thing, but if you have a specialized literary analysis paragraph to write, you can use this grid instead. Page 4 of your Writing Bible includes a visual reminder of what an essay looks like. So your introduction paragraph, which is approximately 4 sentences, takes this form, with your thesis always being the final sentence. Your body paragraphs usually include all of these things that we just talked about before, and just remember that each body paragraph has to support and prove the thesis statement. Your conclusion paragraph looks like this, beginning with a restatement of your thesis, and then recapping what you've said and ending with a clincher. Page 5 of your Writing Bible is actually the process for writing your essay, that the first step you have to include is to understand your prompt. Once you understand your prompt, then you're going to create a thesis statement, write an outline, and then you're going to cover your body paragraphs, your conclusion, and you finish your essay by writing your introduction. So any of you who thought you start an essay by writing the intro, this is your new aha moment. You actually want to write your introduction paragraph last, because if you don't, you risk starting to prove your essay within that introduction paragraph. And actually, that's not what an introduction paragraph is for. I give you some information about that here. And then I say, once your essay is completely written, slap a title on it. Teachers love that kind of a thing, and you're good to go. Page 6 begins a breakdown of specifically how to write each of those paragraphs. So there's information on the introduction, the development of body paragraphs, how to create coherent development in your body paragraphs, and how to write the conclusion. Beginning on page 10 of your Writing Bible, we talk about how to create coherence when you are going to include textual evidence. This is a 3-part guide where part 1 is where you introduce your source the author's name and any comments about that author. In part 2, you actually provide your paraphrase or your direct quotation. And then in part 3, that's where you begin your commentary or your analysis. And if you want to read this, they move from top to bottom. There are 3 samples that move from top to bottom in these 3 columns to show you each of the 3 parts and how you can use those to create coherent development when you're using quotations or paraphrases from an outside source. On page 11, I give you an example paragraph of how to use what you learned on page 10, specifically this sample number 1, I actually use here in this example paragraph. So it just shows you how that would look within the context of an actual paragraph. And I also color code it for you so that you can see the green is the part 1, yellow is part 2, and red is part 3 from all of that work up here on page 10, part 1, part 2, and part 3. Page 11 talks about your in-text citations, and page 12 is the beginning of your specific literary analysis essay. So there are some reminders up here that are really important to keep in mind. Things like always write in third person, always write in present tense, always italicize the title of your book, always put chapter titles in quotation marks, and then always consider your audience in terms of not wanting to overwhelm your paper with summary, but wanting to include an awful lot of analysis. So next we get to how to structure your introduction paragraph that you need to include an author's name, title of the book, any relevant background information the reader's going to need. And then again, as always, you put your thesis as the last sentence. Now, one of the cool things about this page is that I give you a default thesis that will usually work for you if, for example, your teacher hasn't given you a prompt or if you don't have any way to begin. So this is a great page, page number 12, to find your default thesis. Next, I remind you what the body paragraphs need to include, and this page ends with reminders about the conclusion paragraph. On page 14, I actually provide you with a literary analysis essay outline if you wanted to pull this out of your writing Bible and actually create it as a document. You can fill these spaces in yourself, and it'll just remind you these are each of the things I have to do to create a literary analysis essay. Page 15 of the Writing Bible includes information about your thesis statement. Now, as you get older and as you continue writing in your junior and senior years, it's going to become more and more important that you write quality, sophisticated, analytical thesis statements. And so this page is a great way to help you think about what that looks like and how it differs from other things. Page 16 includes your claim evidence analysis and specifically what that's supposed to look like in a literary analysis paragraph. This page is great if a teacher has told you something like you don't have enough depth of analysis or you don't develop your analysis well enough. This page is a great page to come to as a resource. It provides a lot of examples and they're labeled so you can see what the author's doing and what that's categorized as. At the bottom of page 16, there's a little practice activity that you can complete. And then on page 17, there is yet more support for punctuating, citing, and embedding those quotes. In case you couldn't tell, this is a really big deal. It's something that kids work really hard at over and over the course of many years to try and get their evidence and analysis to be of greater depth. And that's why there's so much support in this Writing Bible to help you with that. On page 18, there's an annotated model of a literary analysis paper. So the cool thing about this is it's going to provide you with an actual paper, and then on the left-hand side, I indicate to you what's going on in that paper. So it's going to help you go, oh, that's what she means when she says use a better transition, or oh, that's what she means when she says my topic sentence has to be clearer. So that goes on for one page, and then you can see that on the second page, the annotations stop. And the purpose there is if you ever wanted to come into office hours or work with me, then together we can annotate this second page so you can try it on your own and then come into office hours and see if you've done it correctly. Beginning on page 19, we talk about how to analyze a writing prompt, and it goes through several steps. You can see it goes all the way down to the bottom of page 20. On page 21, we talk a little bit about how to create a works cited sheet, but really I would tell you don't waste your time here. Always go to the OWL Works Cited, so you can just Google that, and the OWL at Purdue is the best source on how to create a works cited sheet that I have ever seen. To that end, on page 22, I actually give you some tips for how to utilize the OWL's website. And so you can see I talk about how to create in-text citations here, and I give you a screenshot of what the OWL at Purdue looks like. And then at the bottom of that page, we talk about an actual works cited page, and I give you some other information about that. Page 22 is an awesome resource if you are somebody who knows what you want to write and you just can't think of the right ways to say it. Often what you lack is an understanding of essay transitions. So transitions are those words and phrases that you use as glue to kind of glue each sentence to the next sentence. Your transitions also carry meaning, so you'll want to be clear that you're using the right kind of transition for the circumstance. So you'll see here, I have transitions that you can use in your introductory paragraph to transition into the thesis statement. And then we have transitions that you use between your paragraphs to link those paragraph ideas together. And finally, transitions that you can use inside of your conclusion paragraph. And then within each body paragraph, I have other kinds of transitions. So you have transitions that you can use to talk about multiple sources in one paper if you're comparing or contrasting or synthesizing ideas and you're drawing information from multiple sources. There are some transitions that can help you with that situation. If you're trying to connect ideas within paragraphs, then you can use this last section and it further subdivides. For example, you have adding information to what you've already provided. You have words that explain to the reader that you're going to create a change or a contrast. There are words that show cause and effect, and there are words that help if you want to provide an example. The next page isn't super easy on the eyes, but it is pretty important. These are sentence stems. So if you're going to synthesize sources, or if you're going to be guiding readers, or if you're trying to introduce a source, these are more transitions, sentence stems that will help you to do that work. Page 25 includes a ton of powerful verbs that replace the verb show, as in the author shows. Page 26 includes a groovy word chart for adjectives. Page 27 is an awesome resource for you and should be used 15 minutes before you're going to hit submit. And it's just a bunch of things to remind you of when you go back for that final edit. Things like, did you find a manageable topic? Is your title engaging? Does your intro paragraph include those things it has to include? The topic, the name of the writer, and the piece. Does it end with your thesis statement? And so it just is a great reminder for you before you're going to submit during that last edit. The most important thing on page 28 is the reminder for you that when you turn in your paper, it has to be in MLA format. Now, if you get confused, I give you some pointers here, but again, go back to the OWL at Purdue where they have a sample essay, although there is also a sample essay in this very writing Bible. And then I give you some reminders for your rewrites, like in order to be eligible, you have to have submitted your original document before 3 p.m. on Friday. Page 29 includes your checklist. This is the rubric for a generic essay. And page 30 is the exact same thing, only specifically for a literary analysis essay. So when you see the rubric in Schoology, it is derived from this piece of paper. So if I don't give you enough information in terms of what I'm looking for, you can come here where it's all clearly explained to you. The next page is the Language Arts Conventions sheet. There are 15 conventions that I will be taking points off for. Those are listed here. And that's it. I hope that you will use your writing Bible liberally. I think it will prove to be a great writing partner for you and a writing support for you, and particularly in times when you can't get to my office hours or you need some support and I'm not available. All right, happy writing.